I'm just seeing news here. I'm sorry to be bouncing something off of you that you may very well have not heard before we came on. But one of the things that I've always liked most about you is your appreciation for the history of sports. And I am one, I think you know this, that I started my career in Chicago. I grew up in New York, but then I started my career in Chicago covering sports in Chicago. And so I can tell you that there were going to be grown adults crying in Chicago today with the news that Bobby Hull has died. The Golden Jet, 84 years old. He played 15 seasons for the Blackhawks. I can tell you that in Chicago, he is one of the most beloved athletes that city ever had. The modern fan may know him better because he's Brett Hull's father. But Bobby Hull, one of the genuinely great players in the history of the sport. Chris, I'm just seeing this news that he died, I believe, last night.
Yeah, you'd be the perfect guy to ask. Mount Rushmore of Chicago, it's Jordan.
Walter Payton.
One.
Walter Payton.
Payton, two.
Ernie Banks.
Three.
I think Ernie Banks and Bobby Hull would round it out. Certainly, if you're taking a player from every sport, then that's the unquestioned group. And then the arguments, we've had this conversation before, of course, and the arguments become, does Scottie Pippen belong on the list ahead of somebody else because he was there for all 6 championships and everything else. But if you were representing every sport, for sure, the greatest baseball player in the history of Chicago on either side of town is Ernie Banks. Right, Hembo, am I getting that right? I mean, should I be talking about, is there like some historic player, like Nellie Fox or something like that?
No one older.
No, you got it right. No, it's got to be Banks.
Okay, so it's Banks. Walter Payton is certainly the best player the Bears ever, as great as Dick Butkus was, as great as Gale Sayers was, and others. It's definitely Payton. And basketball, it goes without saying. So yeah, Chris, I think he is. I think he's on the Mount Rushmore of all-time Chicago sports.
Yeah, I went to the WHA with the Winnipeg Jets. Did not play in that Canadian USSR Great Summit Series in '72 because they wouldn't take any WHA players, and he had just left. I was a Blackhawk fan growing up as a kid. So I loved them too. I mean, I'm a little older than you, so I remember when I was 12 or 13. Not in the 60s. Now, when did they win the cup? They
61.
won a cup there with him. When did they win that cup?
61.
65, maybe?
I think the story
61.
I'm looking at says 61, yeah.
Okay, because they were very good there in the early 70s. They lost to Montreal in a 7th game at Chicago 5-3. I think that was in 71. That may have been his last year. You may look that up. That might have been his last year there. But he was a tremendous number 9, a great goal scorer. He was the Chicago version of Gordie Howe with Detroit, Maurice Richard with Montreal. Tremendous shot, blonde hair, 100%. I'm with you. He was a tremendous, tremendous player. I will try to do something on that today too, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. And if you're a Blackhawk fan of yesteryear, and don't forget they lost Tony Esposito not too long ago too, right? About a year ago. Tony died. But, yeah, one of the all-timers, no question about it. I'd have to look at his career a little bit more significantly to know all the ins and outs of it. But wonderful. Fun. A great winger, could have had an unbelievable shot, scored a million. How many goals did he score in his career? He must have had about 8 50-goal seasons, right? Something like that?
I'm starting to get numbers that are coming in just now. Like the news literally just broke, so I don't have all that in front of me. We'll have it all as the day goes on. I knew you were exactly the. I knew if there's anyone I could bounce this off of blind, it would be Chris Mad Dog Russo. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.